Good day, merry meet. My name is Glennis. I am the Witch of Whitetail Hollow. If you have just found my channel, well, welcome. I hope you hit the subscribe button and join me. And if you guys are returning, well, you already know, thank you so much. It's so great to see you. And welcome to Wednesday Witch's Brew, where it's an open forum. You can ask anything you like, and whether it be magical or not, whatever, I guess I should say, whatever way the spirit moves you. But first, I wanted to share with you a little bit. Now, you guys know I'm really very big on protection. And another layer or aspect of the protection that I do use, and I'm hoping that you guys can see it here, is the use of a bromeliad. Now, when the weather is accommodating, of course, I have a pair flanking the door that I use the most. It's covered, it doesn't get any sunshine, which is absolutely one of the requirements for them. And when the weather turns colder, as it is right now, I bring them in, and when you bring them inside as indoor plants, that brings in money and luxuries. So there you go. That's another aspect of it. And actually, a couple of other bromeliads that have I received in some love mail that I've actually shared with you prior has been one of these. And again, when they're used indoors, it brings in money and luxuries. And I've had this and this one, whoops, and this one, and it's actually grown really quite well. It's doing very well. I mean, the growing of it and keeping it happy and healthy is really very easy. These, although they're actually really quite huge, I actually bought those probably about 4 years ago, and that's only 2 of them. I actually have several more, and I do put them by my doorways, as long as they're shaded, very shaded. They can't take any sun. But I bought those. I think Lowe's had them like for 50 cents or $1. The weather was turning cooler. They simply weren't going to make it. And so I said, yeah, okay, I can spend $1. So that's what I did, and they've been with me for years now. And I just love having them. Now, I've actually had someone else ask me about a particular spell that I did as far as pushing away negativity, and asked if that I could do it, or not I could, but if they could do it for, for a friend of theirs. And I said, no, I don't think so, because, and which I mean, I hate to be negative and say, no, you really shouldn't, or you can't. I guess if they're your really very close friend, and if you know a lot about their situation and whatever negativity they do face, that you could do it. I don't know where you are in your path, so to speak, or even if this person, believes in such a thing. I have no idea of any of the situation. But I was really putting that out there for someone to do for themselves. And it was basically just a generic, a very easy, very quick, easy to banish negativity. And I mean, there's nothing to say that you can't do it for them, but there are a lot of idiosyncrasies in doing something like that. You have to think of the lunar phase. You have to think of how strong your intentions are, and whether they really want you to do it or not for them. And again, if they're unaware, who's to say if they really want you to do that for them? So that's why I try to be very careful in the spells that I do. Maybe for a fellow YouTuber for healing, I try to always touch bases and say, is this okay if I do this? Or if someone shares someone with me, then I might say, well, do you mind if I do a road opener for you? I always try to get permission, especially if it's for someone else, to do it for them. And a lot of you have asked, well, why don't my spells work? Well, there's a multitude of reasons why your spells you are perceiving are not working. I have to say, and again, depending, if you're trying something new out, a new oil, a new herb, a new combination of things. I mean, there's so many variations. It could be the deities that you have chosen to work with. There's a multitude of reasons why. But you have to know that whatever your intentions are and whatever herbs or oils or deities that you're working with, your spell is going to work. And again, you have to be really super, super careful in your wording. I can't stress that enough, because once it's out there, it's very, even for me, it's very hard to reel it back in, and it's very hard to, you just can't put white out on it once it's thrown out there. So I meditate, and again, meditation is so, so important. I meditate on a spell, whether it be for me or for someone else, and I think as much, and I meditate as much as I can before I put anything out there. And then when I think I'm ready, I look at it one more time. I just, I don't want anyone to get hurt or anything like that. Certainly, you really, really don't want anyone hurt. But your spell will work. It may not work in the way that you want it to, or the way you think the world is going to go. But sometimes you just have to leave it in, if you're whatever god or goddess or whatever that you're working with, sometimes you have to leave it in their hands to see the big picture. Because you don't always necessarily, it's just like a very, very young child. You don't always necessarily know what's the best thing for you and for everyone else around you, whether they are actually really familiar with you or not. I know I'm throwing a big broad net there, but you would be surprised at the things and how you affect people's lives that you may not even be friends with. I know it's happened to me, so certainly it can happen to everyone else. But again, thank you so much for joining me. I really hope that I've answered your questions as best that I can. I've never once said I'm an authority on any one thing, certainly not. And certainly next week, drop your comments, questions, or whatever below, and I am more than happy to answer any questions about virtually anything that you guys have, or again, in the description box below, I will leave my email if you want to do it in a more private manner. I will definitely address it here if I can, certainly if I can. But again, thank you so much for joining me. With that, I'm going to say merry part, and I hope to merry meet again. Goodbye, guys.